Hello and welcome to another episode of Red Couch Chronicles. Hi, I'm Danielle. Today we're going to talk about something that everyone has encountered at one time or another in the workplace, and that is complaints, malicious rumors, looking maybe at what your coworker is or is not doing, studying why it is that your coworker gets to get away with things that maybe you would think as a rule follower you yourself might not be able to get away with. And so we're going to break this down. I'm going to take the time to go over a few scriptures to break this down and just share with you my insight on what working in or within a group of other people might look like based on God's principles. And so, as I've shared with you before, I am an educator by trade. I have worked in schools practically all my life, with the exception for maybe my few years out of high school working as a cashier in a local supermarket. But for the most part, I did my bachelor's in elementary education. You know, you have to go and do your observations and then your student teaching. And finally, when I got my degree, I got a job 2 years after I graduated. And from ever since then, I have been in the field of education, regardless of capacity, regardless of working the academic school year, working from August to May or June, and even working in the summer as maybe a counselor or a camp coordinator. I have always, for the better part of my life, worked with children. And as you know, if you work amongst a group of people or within a group of people, there is always going to be conflict. Now, whether that conflict arises from rumors that are being spread or whether that conflict arises from another person being deemed as the favorite one or the anointed one or the blessed one, you name it, I've heard it. There is always conflict when it comes between one coworker to the next coworker, or one coworker thinking that they're pulling the heavier part of the load as opposed to another coworker who may be barely lifting half her weight or his weight, whatever the case might be. And so I myself have been one of those people who would complain, well, here I am working so hard, and here is that person not necessarily doing all that they should, but no one is speaking to him, no one is speaking to her, the manager isn't saying anything, the supervisor isn't saying anything. Are they not seeing what he or she is doing, what he or she is not doing? And before you know it, I'm disgruntled. Before you know it, I'm coming to work, and even before I get to work, I'm frustrated because I'm looking at the inequity or the unfairness of the situation. However, little did I know, and again, in coming to that relationship and coming to know my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, God the Father, the Holy Spirit, and in understanding that I necessarily am not responsible for anything anybody else does, but I'm only responsible for myself, and I'm only responsible for the things that I do, for the things that I do in excellence, in working as if unto the Father and not as unto man, and not trying to figure out or understand those who may be working for man, who may be working to impress man, who may be working to impress themselves or working to make themselves greater in their career or whatever have you, and not necessarily working for God. And so I would like to share with you a few scriptures that I have found along this study that has helped me or have helped me to get over that hump per se. Now, I won't say that I am perfect. I will be the first one to say that every now and again I do quip about things that I see and I truly wonder, okay, are the supervisors not seeing this? Why are we not saying anything? And if, you know, of course, you're not going to get an answer from the supervisor who may not see, or I think who is not seeing, or sometimes I go in my prayer closet and God, really, what's up with that? You understand what I'm saying? But for me, the next few scriptures that I'm going to share with you have helped me a lot in getting over that workplace envy, maybe, if you call it that. I don't know, we'll see. But Proverbs 26:17 says, Like the one who grabs a stray dog by the ears is someone who rushes into a quarrel not their own. Now think for a moment. For those of you who have dogs, I have a dog. His name is Maximus. For those of you who have pets, whether they're inside pets or whether they're outside pets. For those of you who have seen stray dogs running up and down your neighborhood or up and down in front of your home, or even trying to catch one of these dogs, or even watching pet rescue, what do you call them? Animal control coming out to catch these dogs. Would you ever imagine, or would you ever want to grab whatever dog is in your life, a pet, a stray, catching a wild animal? Can you imagine the ramifications you would have if you were to scrabble that dog up by his ears? What would happen? One, either the dog is going to whimper and cry out, not understanding what's happening to him, or two, that dog is going to attack you, because grabbing him up by his ears unexpectedly is going to cause him to fight and try to figure out, am I in danger? Are you a threat? What's really going on? And so this is the vision the word is giving us. A person who runs into an argument that is not their own, mind you, a person who is not working up to their best potential has nothing to do with Danielle. That has everything to do with the administrators who chooses to see, who chooses not to see, and it has everything to do with God who sees everything. So if you are busy to run to an argument that has nothing to do with you, you are like that silly person who is going to scrabble up a dog by his ears. And guess what? Whatever you get as a result of that, you get, because like we say at home, nobody sent you. That was not your argument to pick up. All right. And next verse I'd like to share with you is one that says, Luke 6:42, and many of us know this one, and so I'm going to share it in the context of this video. Luke 6:42, that says, how can you say to your brother, let me take out the speck that is in your eye, when you yourself do not see the log that is in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take the log out of your eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck that is in your brother's eye. And what this is telling me in the context of this video is that inasmuch as I pride myself working in a spirit of excellence, guess what? I'm not perfect. I do not do everything perfectly. I'm still in the process, even though I've worked in my county for 10 years. I'm still in the process of learning different things about my county and how different things are done, whether it be in the classroom, whether it be on an administrative level, whether it be in curriculum, whether it be in mentorship. I'm still learning. So if I know that I am not a person who knows everything, that I am not a person who is not perfect in the things that I do, even within my day-to-day, who am I to say anything to someone else within my building who may be struggling with even the same things that I'm struggling, or maybe something else different? Pulling the log out of my own eye before I could talk about the speck in my brother's eye. All right, so that's Luke 6:42. 1 Thessalonians 4:10 and 12, however, puts a different spin on it, even though it's getting right to the point, and it says, and in fact, you do love all of God's family throughout Macedonia. Yet we urge you, brothers and sisters, to do so more and more, and to make it your ambition to lead a quiet life. You should mind your own business. This is in the Bible. You should mind your own business and work with your hands, just as we told you, so that your daily life may win the respect of outsiders, and so that you will not be dependent on anyone. What is the value to minding your own business and working in excellence? I'll read it to you from another perspective right in this very Bible. Matthew 26:59 and 60 says, "In everything that you do, work in excellence, act in integrity, and keep your word. By doing this, no one will be able to bring a charge against you." If you are acting in excellence, if you, are keeping your word, if you are working above the fray and above bar and trying to meet the expectations that have been set for you by your workplace, by your administrators, by your supervisors, by your boss, one, you're not going to have time to sit down and talk about anybody else. And number two, you are going to make sure that no one will ever be able to say that you are not doing the things you are supposed to be doing. Now, there's a common thread in all of those scriptures I just read for you. And that common thread is this: you are responsible for you. And I remember about 2 years ago teaching a lesson to a group of girls whom I mentored those 2 years ago. And the name of that lesson was the traveling hula hoop. And of course, I used the hula hoop to teach them another concept, another principle. But I'm going to use one of these same hula hoops to teach you another principle tonight. And that hula hoop is, and I don't know if you can see it, but that principle rather, is this: you are only responsible for the person who is inside of this hula hoop. This is the depth and the breadth of your concern. Because guess what? The only person you can control, the only person, repeat after me, the only person you can control is the person that is within that hula hoop. And the person that is within this hula hoop is yourself. In this case, is Danielle. I cannot control my coworker in as much as I would want to, even if I were, a boss. I cannot control that person. Now, I can maybe lead him, I can mentor, I can train, I can professionally develop, I can make sure he or she has all of the resources that they need to do their job and do it in a spirit of excellence and to the best of their ability. But even after I have provided all of those things, I still cannot control that person. The only person I can control is the person who is inside the hula hoop. And so I say all of that to say this. Yes, we have just started a new school year, and I'm speaking from a school perspective. I've also worked in the retail business, so I know a little bit about that. And we can take this principle and we can place it in any career path, in any job, in any building where there are people working. Don't look at what your neighbor may or may not be doing. Don't look at how your neighbor is or is not doing what you think they're supposed to either be doing or not be doing, if that makes sense. The only person you are responsible to is yourself. The only person you are responsible for making sure that you are working in a spirit of excellence is yourself. The only person that when all is said and done, that you are going to have to answer to is not your boss, is not your direct administrator, but is to the Lord your God. Lord, my administrator made sure that I had everything I needed to do the job I was supposed to do. I knew all of my deadlines. I knew when I had what to turn in. I knew what was required of me of the state to teach my students. I knew what the curriculum looked like. I had copies of it. But Lord, instead of focusing my time on doing what I was supposed to do, I spent my time talking about others, complaining about others, minding other people's business. And in doing so, because I was not taking care of my part, other people were able to bring charges against me. Other people were able to, as I'm complaining about somebody else, other people are now complaining about me. You see, beloved, like my father always grew me up saying, and I've lived, thank God for my years of life on this earth, I have lived to see it come true. Life is a round table. What you give is what you get. Today for me, tomorrow for you. Don't ever give anybody the ammunition to shoot you with, because once they get that ammunition, trust me, they're going to use it. Whatever a man reaps, so will he sow or harvest. So I'm going to leave you with this, because this is going to help you to navigate your hula hoop a little bit more effectively, a little bit more cautiously with the things that you think, the things that you say, the ways that you act, and the things you choose to see and not grumble about, because, hey, we live in a non-perfect world. But one way that you can manage being in this hula hoop and being responsible for yourself and your actions and making sure you are working in excellence is found in Philippians 4:8. That says, finally, brothers, whatsoever is true, whatsoever is honorable, whatsoever is just, whatsoever is pure, whatsoever is lovely, whatsoever is commendable, if there is any excellence whatsoever, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. So while you're working and while you're striving and while you're trying to be the very best you can be within your sphere of influence, within your hula hoop, think of things that are honorable and true and praiseworthy. And then and only then will you, even in the midst of darkness, even in the midst of inequity, even in the midst of unfairness, will you be able to see the good in everything that everyone else does. There's always a silver lining, beloved. And as a people, we have to start looking for the silver linings. We have to start praising others. We have to start building each other up. But that only comes after you have learned to manage what's inside this space, or who is inside this space with you. And that who is you. Think about it, beloved. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And until next time, I thank you for tuning in. I will be here on this red couch waiting to see you again soon.